Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be upon you, and welcome back to Join the Mahdi. As always, I'm your host, Ardijan and Mahdi.
And I'm Alexandra Al-Mahdi.
So today we're going to be doing things, I guess, a little bit different today. Today on the show, Join the Mahdi. Obviously, we all encourage you to look into this call and to join the Mahdi. And we've been talking a lot regarding the spiritual aspects of the teachings of Al-Sadiq. And today we will continue on with that. However, I believe that one thing that we should focus on, especially since we have a new addition to the Divine Just State magazine on divinejuststate.com, we actually have brothers and sisters out in Egypt who are ready to give dawah to the people and spreading flyers and posters. So Alex, I think right now is a perfect opportunity to really talk about Egypt and the country of Egypt and the people of Egypt, I suppose, and what's going to save the Egyptian people today.
Exactly. You know, Al-Sadiq from his piece on the Mahdi as a Pid channel, he's made lots of posts in the last few days about the Mahdi's revolution coming to Egypt and showing us all of these clips and images basically of, you know, what the believers have been doing in Egypt, you know, this campaign that the believers have been on to spread the news, you know, that Al-Sadiq from his piece is here, you know, and telling people who he is. So, you know, why is this so important? You know, like, what is the situation right now in Egypt? You know, because we've been looking into that a bit today. Because really, you know, the people of Egypt, you know, they're stuck in a pretty miserable situation right now. Okay, the ruler of Egypt is Sisi. He's like an extremely tyrannical person, and yeah, he is basically prioritizing his own interests over the interests of the people. There's actually a really interesting clip that we found earlier today. If we could go to the clip, just shows you know, the kind of way that he views the people and, you know, the way that he is treating them.
Let's go ahead.
لو كمن تمن التقدم والازدهار للأمة إنها ما تاكلش وما تشربش زي ما الناس بتاكل وتشرب ما تاكلش وما تشربش.
Wow. So this guy is basically saying in order for there to be progress, if the cost or the expense of progress in the country is that the people go hungry and thirsty, well, then let them go hungry and thirsty.
Yeah, basically prioritizing his idea of prosperity, you know, over the people in his country having adequate food and, you know, adequate, you know, basic necessities in order to get by, basically. That, you know, he is okay with them sacrificing that in order for the country to have prosperity. But yet, you know, the country has never achieved prosperity under him. And, you know, this is, you know, so much the opposite of what it should be. You know, when we're talking about the fact that we should have a leader who's appointed by God, this means, you know, that everyone should have what they need, because as we've said so many times, you know, there is enough sustenance on the world for everyone to have what they need. So this is, you know, completely untrue, you know, and this mission that he's on hasn't led to any prosperity in the country, you know, and this guy is like extremely crazy. You know, he also said, like recently, basically, that he could destroy Egypt by giving like tramadol to the poor citizens, basically. Wow. And for like a certain amount of money, he could destroy the country. And this is like a plan that he has in his head. So this guy is like a really crazy tyrant, you know.
That is insane.
And it just shows that the situation in Egypt is getting so bad. You know, food is really unaffordable for the people. You know, we saw this other clip earlier, you know, of these children living in disgusting conditions, you know, with improper sewage, like living in rubble, basically. And they don't have enough food. And this is not the way that people should be living. And this is because, you know, we have this corrupt and tyrannical man at the head of a country who is not fit to lead the country. And the man who should be running the country, you know, is Al-Sadiq from his piece. He is the companion of Egypt. So he is the one who is sent to save Egypt. And, you know, if you look in the Goal of the Wise, there's this section that was written by Hadil, who is the human rights coordinator of the religion. And she's talking about how, you know, the narrations, they state that, you know, Egypt has a very key role to play in the rise, basically. And basically it gets to this point where it is so dark and full of injustice, you know, before the people of Egypt, they cry out for a leader who is appointed by God. And I think this is really like the state that Egypt has got to today, right?
Yeah, no, Egypt has gone to a very terrible state. Actually, you know, the clip that that we just played here is a year old. This is something that Sisi said about a year ago, and Egypt still up until today has not progressed. You know, there are some clips of people even saying on the internet that's been circling around that Egypt probably won't get better until 2 generations later. 2 generations later of people that have to endure suffering and starvation and thirst.
Yeah.
While, you know, he's claiming that, you know, this is going to bring prosperity and progress to Egypt.
Yeah. Like, but it's not true at all. Like, that's not the way that you bring prosperity. You know, this is something that would never happen, you know, if we have the leader who's appointed by God.
And I could understand maybe if, you know, maybe the people are giving him the benefit of the doubt that, like, you know, maybe in order that there be food and water for the Egyptian people, we have to, for a short time, ration our food, and we have to, like, starve and, like, be thirsty just a little bit until our state gets better. But then, you know, Sisi and his friends that are all sitting there, I mean, I wonder, do they have food in their fridge?
Yeah, like for sure he's not rationing his own food, and, you know, he's just happy to let the people of Egypt do that.
No, I mean, I think the people should actually compare how Sisi looks like right now and compare it to when he overthrew the previous president, who was Morsi at that time. Compare his physique. You know, he was very skinny actually when he became president, or not very skinny, but at least he was, you know, mildly built. Now he looks like, now he looks a bit plumped. He looks as if, you know, he's been eating pretty good. So this guy for sure is not starving. This guy for sure is not thirsty. This guy has the resources that he needs in order to make himself good. And by the way, a few years ago, you know, I think it was Brother Mahmoud or somebody who actually showed me some clips actually exposing Sisi for taking the money of the people and basically building himself mansions for himself and for his friends and buddies. Yeah. So, you know, the kind of ruler that's ruling Egypt today is basically a pharaonic type figure who all of the people can starve and all of the people can slave away so long as he and others around him are living pretty chill lives. Yeah, exactly. You know, he's not building prosperity for Egypt. He's building prosperity for his own self. You know, like, he's like the complete polar opposite of what the leader who is appointed by God is going to be like, because we all know, you know, from being around Al-Sadiq, from his piece, that he puts his own needs last. Like, he will go without, well, you know, to make sure that everyone else has what they need, you know. And this is, you know, truly the way that we actually achieve prosperity for everyone. But this guy is, like, depriving his citizens basically of, you know, having basic necessities, so in order that he can live like a life of luxury. And this is, yeah, an extremely disturbing situation in Egypt. So it's 100% time for the Mahdi's revolution to come to Egypt. You know, Egypt has this key role to play in the end times, you know, in the divine just state. No, it does. And actually we have a little clip to actually show the people on what's actually going on in Egypt today with the believers down over there. All right, so we can see here that the Ansars in Egypt, the believers in Egypt, are right now, I suppose they're fed up. You know, they're now taking to the streets in the highways, raising up banners in order to propagate that the companion of Egypt, and that's what it says in bold in the banner. It says Sahib Masr. It basically says the companion of Egypt. This is a figure that the narrations and the hadiths that the Muslims have, they talk about a man called the companion of Egypt who is supposed to bring prosperity to the people of Egypt. And this is not the only clip. If we can actually share a few photos of what's going on right now with the believers in Egypt, we can basically see, look, so there's a community
some posts
post.
from the Mahdi has appeared YouTube channel, some community posts.
Exactly. So God bless our soldiers in Egypt for their works. What kind of works are they doing? Well, they're putting up these flyers on people's cars.
Yeah.
Calling them basically to God, the supremacy of God, and to the fact that Al-Sadiq is their true king. He is their true prince. He is the true Amir for the Muslims, really.
Yeah, he is the companion of Egypt, basically.
He is the companion of Egypt. And
the one who is going to actually bring Egypt into prosperity.
And I'm pretty sure that if the government sees this, if the Egyptian people see this, they'll think to themselves, well, I mean, like, you know, what's going on? Like, who is this man? And they should investigate. Okay, glad tidings to the people of Egypt, it says. And over here we have clips now of our brothers. God bless them for their courageous works, their lions of God. They are just spreading all these posters around. You know, look at this. This is beautiful. So, you know, God bless them for making those flyers spread out. And also we have the frequency for the satellite channel for the Middle East and North Africa now being spread. They're putting them all over the doors, windows. What you have been promised has arrived. Okay, let's go see what those photos are about. All right, so these are the streets. Oh, okay, there we have that big giant banner.
Yeah, so like think about how many people are going to see that in Egypt. Like, you know, just letting everyone in Egypt know that the companion of Egypt is here. And I love that first post, you know, where it says what you've been promised has arrived, which is what it says on the flag, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what people have been waiting for. This is like an end to their suffering. You know, we don't have to like live in a world like this where we have someone who's putting his own needs like over ours, you know, threatening to make the poor people of the country addicted to drugs, like saying that he's fine with, you know, people going without, living in famine, living in poverty. Like, this is something that is completely unacceptable, and it's something that, you know, we don't need to accept anymore, you know, because we have that man here. We have Al-Sadiq from him is peace. He is that savior of mankind who was promised to come. You know, that we have all been waiting for, and, you know, what we've been promised has arrived. All we have to do is accept it, you know.
And what was the drug again that you said that he was trying to get people hooked up on again?
Yeah, he said he had a plan to get people addicted to tramadol, basically.
Tramadol.
Yeah.
Tramadol is this drug that basically is taken for people who have gone under surgery, right? It's like a painkiller.
Yeah, it's a painkiller.
Yeah, it's a severe painkiller, actually. So basically this guy is trying to get his people high in order that they, and you know, that's actually a very, very crazy, cruel trick, because, you know, a lot of people who end up in poverty, especially in the Western nations, I mean, what do they turn to,
They're suffering
right?
so much, so they do end up like turning to drugs. So it's just like extremely disturbing that he's creating this situation where people are in poverty, and they have no other choice, you know, apart from to be suffering. And then he's like also planning on getting them addicted to drugs. Like, he's extremely barbaric. And seems like a maniac, basically.
No, I mean, he is a maniac, because if he's saying that he wants this for the poor people, well, guess what? I'm not sure if the viewers know about this, but about nearly half of the population of Egypt lives below the poverty line. You know, and that's why, and actually, you know, this is something that I showed you. I was basically showing you how it was like in Egypt. You know, I myself was in Egypt, and, you know, you would see children on the streets trying to sell you tissues just to make just to eat. Women, you know, who are widows are out in the streets in niqab, you know, trying to earn a living. You have children being beaten and treated like dogs because they're orphaned and they're just crawling around the streets with mud or like dirt all over themselves and their clothing. You know, it's a horrific scene. And I'm not talking about kids like at the age of like 13, 15. I'm talking about kids who at one point I saw them as young as maybe 2 or 3 years old.
That's really horrible.
It's like, imagine that. Imagine like some of the kids that you've seen in the community who, you know, you are like an auntie to them, and like imagine that. Imagine if one of them, God forbid, was in that kind of condition, just like going around the streets crying, wondering where their parents are. Yeah. And they've just, and they're being taken care of by other kids who are also without parents. I mean, it is such a heartbreaking.
That is like a completely tragic and also, you know, completely unnecessary situation for the people to be in.
Yeah, no, it's a really sad situation, but that's why Egypt needs a savior, you know, at the end of the day. And, you know, subhanAllah, how the narrations talk about the companion of Egypt, and I think we need to really break it down to the people, because look, here's one narration that's very important, right? Is that he restores Egypt's wealth and eliminates poverty. So, okay, we've been talking about how Egypt, half of the population is below the poverty line. So the Sahib Masr, or the companion of Egypt, what does he do? Well, Imam Ali says, glad tidings to you, O people of Egypt. Allah shall heal your broken state. fulfill your promises, enrich your needy ones, pay your debts, and unite you, so long as you're holding on to the path of Allah. The Egyptian people, they have not held on to the path of Allah. And what do I mean by that? Because in the Quran, it is clearly stated that supremacy is to God alone. It is stated that God is the one who gives his sovereignty to whom he wills. We did not, the Egyptian people did not have a choice or even the authority to go and pick their leaders such as Sisi, to vote him into office. The first time that they voted for him, the people voted, 97% of the people voted for Sisi. And then what happened? What happened was he took Egypt from a state that was already bad and made it extremely worse.
So much worse.
No, so much worse. And I believe, before we continue on with the rest of the narrations, I believe that we have a caller on the line. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Zach.
Yeah, salam.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, no, I agree with you guys about the situation, the geopolitical situation going on with Egypt and stuff. I think, I don't know if it was Sisi or Morsi, but like one of the presidents got like extremely rich. I think Sisi's like his net worth is like over $1 billion right now, just because of all the corruption he took from like the last, since he's been president.
I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, the guy's been milking the country since he's been in office.
Yeah, all the kickbacks he got from all that, from all the probably private investments he got. Yeah, no, definitely. Just like maybe like the question I kind of had was, I want to ask Alex too. I think you said a quote from like Imam Ahmed al-Hassan like last week. There was like a guy that was kind of respecting the da'wah, and after that he came back. Kind of he backslid, then he kind of came back. So he said like Imam Hassan said like, oh, there's only like you can make so many mistakes, but something I don't know. He said something about mistakes. Like there's a quote from Imam Hassan. Do you remember that? You were saying?
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to. You know, one thing that Ahmed al-Hassan from him, his piece, has said about mistakes is that, you know, it's not shameful that someone makes a mistake. What is shameful that someone holds on to the mistake, you know, so...
Yeah, it was like that. It was
so confessing and, you know, having remorse and admitting our mistakes is actually, you know, a good thing. You know, what's not good is just to pretend that we didn't make the mistake and insist on it, you know, that we're in the right, you know.
Yeah, and insisting is pretty much like that you made a mistake, you're sorry about it, but then you continue to make the same mistake. You know, this is something that isn't really correct. I mean, us as human beings, is it the case that sometimes this happens? Yes, but it's really not acceptable, and we have to live up to the expectation that God has of us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, brother, Ardijan, you told me about this video like last time I talked to you. You said about the apocalyptic, and I was trying to honestly YouTube search it, but I just for some reason I couldn't find it when I tried to like YouTube like apocalypse, and after that the Mahdi has appeared kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a video that was made 11 months ago. If you're gonna have to look it up, I guess it's called Signs and Wonders of the Apocalypse. It should also be on the TV screen right now.
Okay. I'll add in sign one because I didn't add like the key words. Maybe I kind of added like apocalypse or kind of thing in that way. Yeah. But so maybe like this last question I had, or if you guys do, just not taking much of your time. So how like when it comes to Sunni Islam or Shia, specifically Sunni Islam, I'm from Sunni background. They say that majority of the Christians, pretty much majority of the people, once they say Isa alayhi salam, he will be, and then once he declares that the cross isn't the cross and everything about Christianity was pretty much just fake and made up claims and stuff like that. Pretty much the majority of Christians will follow and will revert to Islam. So what I want to ask is maybe if you can give me just a short answer of is that kind of how you guys kind of have the affirmation or belief when it comes to maybe the end times, like a majority of the people when they see the Mahdi? Because I know you're saying, Ardijan, you guys did promise that one day, like Imam Mahdi will come, and with with you guys, with the companions, and speak on behalf of the Ummah. But I don't know, do you guys feel like that's going to happen? A majority of people come into faith, like majority of Muslims or majority of pretty much people who have that Muslim aqidah. Because like I said, you guys, like all Muslims, you know, they all have, you know, the same pretty much thing when it comes to Tawheed. You know, there's like the oneness of God. Just maybe different beliefs, you know, like, you know, it's like sectarian, different divides or whatever. But I don't know how you guys. I mean, how you guys take that? You guys think like everybody's gonna switch on to, you know, you know, allegiance to God, the banner, and, you know, the divine knowledge of all the 12 Mahdis. You know, like the three things. So yeah, I just want to ask that.
I mean, I could tell you this much. If you want to go, it's okay.
I was just going to say, you know, this is a really interesting question. If we're talking about the majority of people in general over the whole world, or are we talking about, you know, the majority of Muslims?
Let's say majority of Muslims, and after that, you know, the hadith kind of says too, like majority of Christians must say Isa alayhi salam. You know what I mean? And after that, I know Al-Sadiq, you know, he professedly claims that, not claims in a bad way, but like, you know, just in a, you know, affirmation good way. But that Isa alayhi salam too is like the sixth member of the Ahlul Kisa, you know what I mean, kind of thing. I think he's mentioned that, like I forgot. But anyway, so just, you know, like important, and in Islam too is like, obviously, you know, Christianity, he's a deity, he's a deity to them. So it's like, you know, like his supremacy reigns high over there. But in terms of like, you know, Islam, yeah, he's the Messiah. So like what the narration states that, hey, when he comes back, when he abolishes the cross and you know, kills the pig, pretty much that, you know, and says, hey, you know, Christianity is not the real religion, Islam is. Majority of Christians will turn to Islam. I mean, revert.
Yeah, so brother, I mean, like the thing is, the narration that you're talking about is a narration that says that when Jesus, son of Mary, comes, he would destroy the cross, or no, it says he would break the cross and kill the pig. Now, you know, I'm not one to really interpret the narrations, because, you know, breaking the cross, obviously, he's not going to go around from town to town finding crosses.
No, I mean, metaphorically. I mean, when people say that, they're talking about the ideology. You know what I mean?
Yes, brother. Yeah. So nonetheless, you know, would a lot of people come into the dawah? I mean, yes, for sure. You know, even in the surah and the Quran talks about many people coming into the dawah and many people coming into the religion, and that we should praise and thank God when when this happens. However, we know that there are three types of people that will come into this faith, right? Come into the dawah and believe in the dawah, right? One group of people are those who are true, firm believers, and they say, hey, this makes sense, this is the truth. Another group of people are people who are afraid of the truth, or they're afraid of this call for some reason, and they decide that they're going to pretend to convert and appear as believers because of the state of fear that they are in. For whatever reason, you know, God knows best. I suppose you could kind of reflect on how the people of Quraysh were afraid of Prophet Muhammad when he basically took over Mecca. Yeah. And the third is that a lot of people would actually join the call because of greed. So I'll give you an example. If the people see that that we are prosperous, and that the people see that our call actually is spreading and technology is flourishing and food is coming out from underneath our feet and above our heads, then for sure a lot of people would just join the call just because of the benefits that they would reap from it. But nonetheless, brother, it's like, yes, will there be Christians and Jews? Yes, there will be Christians and Jews. And, you know, anyway, we believe in humanity first, and that's why the topic of today is really revolving around the people of Egypt and how they're in a state, you know, regardless whether or not they believe in the call or not, they still need the companion of Egypt in order to make their lives prosperous, and that they have food on the table, and not even just food on the table, but a roof over their heads, which most of them, or not, I wouldn't say most of them, but a lot of them don't have, unfortunately.
Yeah. And in terms of the Muslims, you know, the narrations about the Qaim state that when he comes, he rises with a new matter, a new book, and a new jurisprudence, and it's something which is heavy. Heavy on the Arabs, you know, heavy on the people who are already following the religion. But, you know, despite that, you know, there are many people from like every background right now in this call, like including from, you know, many people from a Muslim background. And, you know, the numbers of people who are pledging allegiance to Al-Sadiq, from whom his peace, is like increasing every day. Like the number is just going up and up and up. So it's like something which is very rapidly expanding. So we can't really say, you know, will it be the majority or not? You know, for sure, hopefully it will be. It kind of depends on the believers in a way. It depends on the people, you know, like how much we can get the message out, you know, how much how much people want to try and like fight for God and support the cause and get the message out. But, you know, for sure, you know, a lot of people are like finding Al-Sadiq from him is peace, and they are pledging allegiance and seeing that he is the man who is appointed by God, and for sure there will be some people who reject the truth, like there are in every time.
Anyway, brother, thank you so much for your call, and God bless you, and we hope that you keep on looking in, and we hope that you keep on discovering more.
Hey, bro, I just wanted to ask you maybe just a curious, a weird kind of question, but like, Zyro, maybe because I see you guys a lot, are you and Alex kind of like, are you guys married, or how,
no,
are you guys?
We're brother and sister.
We're just,
yeah, that's funny. No, I just like that chemistry, I thought. Okay, no, that's cool. No, mashallah. No, and no disrespect by that comment or anything. It's just,
no worries.
I thought sometimes some of the couples, maybe they're, halal Muslim, but no, all right. Other than that, man, that's really the only questions I got. Yeah, I mean, you guys just keep going on what you're doing, and I mean, from if I have any questions, like I said, I'll definitely check out that video, and and if I ever have any questions about that video or comments about it, I'll chime in.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, and God bless you. And keep on researching and keep on watching.
Yeah, please feel free to come back again.
Okay, my friends. Assalamu alaikum. Take care.
And if anyone else who is watching, would like to call in and ask us any questions, or if they have any comments about, what we've been saying, please feel free to do so, or please feel free to request on TikTok.
And I guess we can continue on to the second narration, second narration that deals with Al-Sadiq, from him is peace. And Al-Sadiq in the end times, from the narrations that we find from the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. So if we can pull up the next slide. Okay, it says over here, he restores Egypt's global standing, because right now, look, Egypt used to be the place people wanted to go to in the ancient world. It was a superpower. It always had a
huge place.
It really did. But in these days
and
in
now
age,
it's not like, it's not anything
trash
on
now,
the world
unfortunately.
stage.
As of right now, it's trash. So what did we find from the sayings of Imam Ali? He said, the companion of Egypt restores its glory and takes it to safety after people became accustomed to immorality. I mean, right now, it is the case, guys. I mean, Egypt is in such an immoral state. When I was in Egypt the last time that I was visiting, I remember I was out there and I went to go get food, right, from like a shop.
Yeah.
And there was a woman speaking, and a man who, he didn't even know this woman, right? And it's a woman actually wearing hijab. And I felt so heartbroken when I saw this, but like, just imagine like a man in his 20s, perhaps, just comes up to this woman and starts beating her in broad daylight.
Wow.
In broad daylight. And nobody did anything. I just stood there just in the car, like across the street, like down the street, shocked. And, you could see like the guy walks away and the woman is like, she's strong, right? But like, she starts like shedding tears and is crying because like she just got attacked.
Yeah.
So, I just found that crazy that the people that were there, that were close by, didn't even do anything. They just stood there. They acted as if it was all normal. And I'm at the other side of the street just wondering, like, what's up with these people?
Yeah, that's extremely disturbing.
There was one man that, sorry, just one more point. And there was one man, I'll never forget this, and it just left an imprint on in my head where, the people were going to Friday prayer. And one of the, there was a group of children walking past, and there was this one toddler with a blanket, like in the streets. And there was a man who who looked like he was dressed up very well, takes the kid and starts beating the kid. And takes him down where the masjid area is, but takes him to the bathroom, and then he leaves. And the kid is nowhere to be found. And then the children, they actually... and other people, they actually got the police involved. They went into the bathroom, but they couldn't find the kid. So I found that really disturbing that, Egypt, unfortunately, a lot of the people are in such deprived states that we have people walking on the streets thinking that they own the place, and they are abducting children. They're beating a woman, and God knows what else is going on. I mean, there's a lot of videos out there for the world to see if they actually look it up. The criminal world of Egypt and just how immoral it's become.
It's disturbing. It's like incredibly in need of the companion of Egypt to restore it right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's really at that state where it's maximum level of injustice. And, you know, Al-Sadiq, from him, his peace, he was living in Egypt. You know, not many people know this, but before, you know, back in the day, he was in Egypt and you were with him, right?
Yeah. I was with him for about 4 months or so in Egypt.
Yeah. And, you know, he was actually, and it explains in the Mahdi's manifesto that, you know, this behind us, that Al-Sadiq, from his piece released last year, you know, that he was actually, you know, part of the Arab Spring, you know, in 2011. You know, he was active in the Egyptian revolution, you know, he was part of it. And, you know, he explains in the Mahdi's manifesto, you know, he was actually arrested and tortured and, like, you know, he was like extremely like persecuted by the police, basically. Like, he thought he was in a situation where he was going to be killed by them. And, you know, the other believers in Egypt, they were extremely badly treated by the authorities, you know, around the time that they were actually leaving Egypt, you know. Like, one of the brothers, he was like ended up in this like underground prison that was just like disturbing, and it just sounded like this like dungeon, basically.
Oh, you mean
where they
Mustafa?
have where they have like no food or like water or anything, and it's just like he was like incredibly lucky to make it out of there alive. So it's like an extremely corrupt country, you know. Another of the believers, actually, called Hisham, like, he was like arrested and charged with all of these false crimes because he was like basically a homosexual, and they like put all these false charges on him and basically just threw him in a cell. And he's still there, you know, he's still locked up. So like the authorities are extremely corrupt, you know. It's an extremely unsafe place to be, you know, for anyone who is challenging the system. So, you know, the believers right now who are going out and spreading the word, like, they're incredibly brave, you know, they're putting themselves at risk. And yeah, I just wanted to add in that information, you know, that Al-Sadiq, he was there in that time, you know, but him and the believers, they left, you know. So he did fulfill that narration, you know, about how the Companion of Egypt, he establishes this platform in Egypt. You know, he sets up the member in Egypt, and this is what he did, you know, because the believers, you know, they were like establishing the dawah and reporting from Egypt at that time.
Yeah, the Egyptian revolution that you're talking about, yeah, that was back in 2011 when they ousted Hosni Mubarak. Yeah, it was an intense time. I mean, I wasn't there on the grounds when that happened. I was still in America, but when that happened, Al-Sadiq was at the forefront, really. Tackling this issue, because we knew, and he knew, that Hosni Mubarak was a corrupt individual. You know, he was an evil man, and they ousted him. But then the Egyptian people, they had elections in which they voted for Morsi, and Morsi was a Brotherhood politician, and he was affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood, and he turned. A lot of the radicals in Egypt, they kind of like became brave and came out in the open, and they started, you know, they would take the Shia sometimes out into the streets. They actually recorded this, where anybody who was a Shia, sometimes they would just take them out into the streets and beat them to, beat them to death. You imagine that, like, imagine being taken out for because of your faith, and a whole mob of people are there beating you senseless until you die.
Yeah,
I mean, it was and it was a really bad time.
That's crazy.
And at that time, Al-Sadiq, when he was there, you know, there was raids that would take place. There was a raid that took place for the Ansars there. Luckily, nobody ended up getting hurt, and they were released. But yeah, no, the times were very scary. And then when it came to Sisi, yeah, Egypt just went totally downhill. And as you were saying, you know, we now have Ansar, some of them who did get arrested, Hisham for homosexuality, as you were saying. And we also had our brother Mustafa and his sister, who unfortunately, because they wanted to interview, I believe, a certain area, or they wanted to interview somebody, the intelligence, I think they knew about it or something. I forgot the full story. This was years ago. And they arrested them without any notice, didn't even inform the family. And he described how he was locked up in like a dungeon-like state where, you know, you would have cockroaches crawling around, and it was just abhorrent. It was disgusting. It was, so
literally so disturbing. Like,
just for having a belief.
It's like kind of like, it's just like barbaric, and it sounds like medieval, basically, the way that they're like treating each other. So yeah, it's an extremely disturbing place. And, you know, Al-Sadiq, he actually said in the Mahdi's manifesto, you know, the Egyptian revolution, you know, the Arab Spring, the people, they had so much hope, you know, because they were under this tyrant, Hosni Mubarak, and they basically, you know, finally overthrew him. But yet, you know, the movement, it didn't have a leader. And he said it's like a body without a head, you know. So this movement that wanted, you know, better for Egypt and wanted to get rid of this tyrant, because it didn't have a leader, it didn't have the best of the people leading them. Actually, what happened afterwards was that a worse leader came like in his place, basically. And then after that leader went, then an even worse leader came in his place, which is Sisi. So this is why, like, it's just been getting worse and worse, you know. And this is why it's so important that we have the leader who is appointed by God, the best of all the people, you know. It's so crazy that, you know, Al-Sadiq, from him his peace, the best of all the people, he was actually there, you know. But at this point, he hadn't been appointed as a Mahdi. He didn't know who he was. So obviously he would have never gone out and called the people towards him. But, you know, he was actually there in that time. And, you know, without him, you know, when he left Egypt, the condition of the country has just been getting worse and worse. And this is a country which needs Al-Sadiq, you know, that man who is appointed by God, the companion of Egypt. You know, he is the angel of sustenance, basically. He is the only one who can actually restore the country.
He is the only one that can restore the country. And, you know, the people of Egypt need to hopefully, you know, take this message seriously. They need to really understand it. But, you know, I think what happened with them, honestly, I think what happened with them is that they really tried. Yeah. They had these revolutions. They really put in so much effort in order to get themselves aligned with prosperity. But with every leader that came after and just made situations worse, they probably thought to themselves, my God, maybe if we take out Morsi now, maybe if we evict him from power, maybe someone even worse than Sisi is going to come. Sisi. Someone worse than Sisi is going to come. Yeah. And, you know, I think they gave up hope, but the people shouldn't give up hope, because the Mahdi is an Egyptian. He is a companion of Egypt. And, you know, this narration actually talks about Egypt, stating what? That Imam Ali alayhi salam, he described the Qa'im, or the companion of Egypt. He said, Egypt is the support of the Mahdi. And he also said, Egypt is a reinforcement and a support held by the hand of the believer. And it becomes for the Mahdi his right wing. So the Egyptian people actually have a very honorable stance, and they can have an honorable stance. If they support the Mahdi, and they will support the Mahdi. It's just about time that they just wake up. And I think right now, with these posters being flown everywhere, and these banners being labeled everywhere, I think, and I really hope that's the case, that this year, inshallah, this year, we're going to have hundreds, if not thousands of believers, and I hope millions of believers in Egypt ready to tell Al-Sadiq, you know, Al-Sadiq, we miss you. We want you back. We need you back. And I'll never forget this day, the day that Al-Sadiq, from him his peace, had to leave Egypt. We were in Germany at the time, the Ansars, and Imam Ahmed al-Hassan, from him his peace, when Al-Sadiq left Egypt, he said that the sun is setting in Egypt. I mean, what does that tell you? That tells you that, well, Egypt is going to get worse, and it did get worse. That happened in 2017, and Egypt, ever since then, has lost that angel Metatron, has lost the angel of sustenance, Nun Ra'il, and inflation went up and prices went up. Yeah. But if the people, the Egyptian people, simply go out and call the people to the Mahdi and want the Mahdi, know that the Mahdi will come to you knocking on your doors, and he'll say, here I am, O oppressed ones.
Yeah, exactly. And this really is the only solution. And it's such an exciting time, you know. This is a revolution that's happening in Egypt right now, but it's not just happening in Egypt. It's a worldwide revolution, you know. We're seeing people go out in every country, you know, even other countries where it's unsafe to do so, like Iran, and all of these other Muslim countries in Malaysia. You know, people are putting themselves at risk to go out and propagate the religion and spread the call of Al-Sadiq, from him his peace. And like you said, you know, Ardijan, all people have to do is accept it. All we have to do as humanity is just say, you know, we don't actually have to accept the situation that we're in anymore. We don't have to accept these like disturbingly like corrupt rulers like Sisi, who are just saying that, you know, they're perfectly happy for us to be oppressed, perfectly happy for us to live without, like, live in famine, you know, live without our basic necessities in order so they can do whatever they want. You know, there is not, this is not acceptable, basically. We do not have to accept this anymore as humanity. We have another option. You know, we have that man who is appointed by God, that man who is prophesied to come, and he will fill the world with justice and equity like it was filled with injustice and inequity before. So, you know, like you said, all we have to do is accept it. You know, it's very simple. And, you know, the caller was asking, you know, how many people are going to come into this call? Is it the majority? Like, for sure, you know, if people have common sense, you know, it will be the majority, because no one wants this, you know. If you really ask people what they want, the majority of people right now are being exploited. You know, it's not the majority of people who are benefiting from this system. So, you know, anyone who has any intelligence will see, you know, that like a different leader who is actually benefiting the majority, you know, actually spreading justice, you know, actually enabling everyone to have what they need, have enough food, have a home to live in. This is a better option for us, you know, even regardless of religion. It's a better option for everyone. And Al-Sadiq from Hymns PC is the only one who has the ability to do that. He has the solutions for all of the world's problems because he has that knowledge from God. So he really is our only option.
He is the only option. And, you know, if the people don't see that, then they'll have Sisi today, but then tomorrow, who else are they going to have? They're going to have someone worse.
Even worse will come in.
For certain. And, you know, Egypt was the civilization that every time that a prophet or a messenger would rule over it, my God, it had prosperity. And in times in which it was supposed to be the worst of times. In the time of Enoch, when the people were living in caves, Enoch came and made Egypt and its nations, the surrounding nations, the people. He brought to them great, vast knowledge. They were able to perform so much. They were able to learn how to read and write and do mathematics and poetry and music. In the time of Joseph, you know, Joseph comes and he makes Egypt great. He prevents a huge famine from taking place, and he brings monotheism to Egypt. Alexander the Great, oh my God, Alexander the Great, this individual who comes, right? The Egyptian people, he didn't even need to invade them. He didn't even need to fight them. They welcomed him in. They said, hey, come in. You know, and they made him Pharaoh. They made him king of Egypt, and they wanted him to be king of Egypt. Egypt was a refuge for Jesus. Egypt was a refuge for many prophets and messengers. And Egypt is one of the 4 holiest lands and places in the entire planet, according to this dawah. And the companion of Egypt is somebody who the narrations also state is somebody who splits the treasures of Egypt. He uncovers the treasures of Egypt. If the people want wealth and prosperity, as Sisi is promising them, instead of having to starve yourselves and become thirsty and live in cemeteries, because that's the thing, by the way, Alex, people in Egypt are living in cemeteries. He is going to ensure that you're avenged, basically. And subhanAllah, we have a narration up on the screen by Imam Ali, who said, the companion of Egypt will emerge from a long disappearance in silence, which is taking place.
That's exactly what
he is not in Egypt. He has disappeared from Egypt, and he opens the cave of secrets and calls out revenge, revenge. Revenge for what? Revenge because of himself? No, revenge for sure for the people who are
being oppressed right now.
Who are being oppressed right now. And they're being oppressed by these tyrants who are forcing their people to starve. So this way Egypt could be prosperous. No, it's not Egypt. They don't care about Egypt. They care about their pockets. They care about their bellies. They care about their getting fat like pigs to slaughter, because like that's what's happening. They're fattening themselves up for the hereafter. So this way, when they meet God on the day of judgment, they are cast into hellfire to be basically roasted. You know, and why am I saying such strong things? Is because, you know, this is our religious belief that anybody who rules over the people and steals from them and oppresses them and causes them to basically die under their regime. And I mean, these are people that God is going to take into strong account. I remember how Al-Sadiq taught us. He said that in the Bible, there are these statements where God on the day of judgment asks the people, you know, you did not feed me when I asked for food. You did not give me drink when I needed drink. You did not clothe me when I needed clothing. You know, Sisi is going to be one of those guys who's going to say, oh, ya Allah, oh Lord of the worlds, where were you that you needed any of this and I deprived you of it? And God will tell Sisi, well, whichever one of my people that you didn't do for, you know, your people of Egypt, did you do that for them? Well, if you didn't do it for them, it's as if, and it is, that you didn't do it for me.
Yeah, these people that he's decided that their, human rights, their ability to survive isn't as important as his idea of prosperity, which hasn't even shown fruit, it hasn't even worked. The country is not prosperous, and it's time, for the people to take back their rights, from this man who is oppressing them and stealing from them.
But, the hope for the Egyptian people now, and we hope that they're happy, and we hope that they take this seriously, and it is that their Savior is here. It's just now about asking for him. It's all about now just paving the way to have him. And all that it takes is just willing, sincere people to basically pledge allegiance to their Savior, and for God to now finally bless Egypt with the blessings that it used to have but no longer has. Anyway, that's all the time that we have, but we hope that the people take this into account. And it's not just Egypt, by the way, because the companion of Egypt, he pretty much brings prosperity and justice for the entire world. And glad tidings to the people of Egypt. It is actually written in the Go of the Wise that one of the first countries to join the divine just state is the land of Egypt as a country as a whole. Now, inshallah, guys, take care, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.